Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's live broadcast, Education, Training, CPD from the Chinese Perspective by Dr. William Pang. I'm Christina Jewell of LabRoots, and I'll be your moderator for today's event. Today's educational seminar is presented by LabRoots, the leading scientific social networking website and provider of virtual events and webinars advancing scientific collaboration and learning. We have a few important announcements before we begin. This website is designed to be interactive, and we encourage you to ask questions during the event. You can submit questions by typing them in the Q&A box, which can be found by clicking on the green Q&A button at the lower left of the presentation window. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can. You can enlarge the slide window by clicking on the screen icon in the lower right-hand corner of the slide window. If you have any technical problems viewing or hearing this presentation, please click on the support button at the top right of your presentation window. Or you may submit your problem through the green Q&A button on the lower left. This is an educational webinar and thus offers free continuing education credits. After the webinar is over, please click on the CE button located in the bottom left-hand corner of your web page and follow the process of obtaining your credits. I would now like to introduce today's speaker, Dr. William Pang. Dr. Pang joined Sanofi in January 2011 as a director, providing expertise to the Asia-Pacific region for animal research and welfare-related affairs. Dr. Pang received his bachelor degree in veterinary medicine and an MS in veterinary pathology from the College of Veterinary Medicine at China Agricultural University, Beijing, China. Dr. Pang received his PhD in veterinary medicine from University College Dublin, Ireland. He did a postdoc training in lab animal medicine at University of Copenhagen, Denmark. Dr. Pang has over 30 publications, 6 book chapters, and is invited to many seminars. Before his Sanofi tenure, he worked with 2 U.S. headquartered CROs in China as attending vet and director of veterinary services, where he led the animal care and use programs to AAA-LAC full accreditations. He also served as study director for preclinical development in multi-species acute and general toxicology programs. Dr. Pang is ACLAM board certified and currently serves as a council member for AAA-LAC International. For Dr. Pang's complete bio, please visit labroots.com. I will now turn it over to Dr. William Pang for his presentation. Dr. Pang?
Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for the invite from LabRoots, and thanks very much for the introduction given by Christina. So today I'm speaking to you from Beijing, China, about a topic which is entitled Education, Training, CPD in Laboratory Animal Sciences and Medicine from the Chinese Perspective. So today I'm going to cover such topics as listed here. So I'm going to give you guys a very brief introduction about the regulations of laboratory animals in China, and then talk about the topics about the education, training, CPD in lab animal science and medicine. So the lab animal regulations in China are very different from the Western countries. So basically, I listed the different types of regulations and their respective titles and the authority with regard to the regulation or implementing those regulations. So the most important one is the very first one, is a administrative regulation named as Regulations for the Administration of Affairs Concerning Experimental Animals, issued by the Ministry of Science and Technology. It can be abbreviated or shortened as MOST, M-O-S-T, which is the government body regulating laboratory animals in China. And then within different departments, within different provinces, we have different departmental bylaws and local laws and standards. So those are very important regulations and guidelines you have to know if you are working in China or you are planning to work in China in the lab animal science field. So this regulation issued by most was in 1988. It's a bit old. So the Chinese government and the lab animal science community are revising it, updating it. In the processing has been ongoing for the past 10 years or so. So hopefully we'll get this updated version of the regulation within a couple of years. So basically this regulation covers everything about animals which are purpose-bred for use in scientific research, testing, and teaching. So as related to the topic today, so the most important thing is the third one, which is regarding the employment of qualified staff. So we are going to talk about the qualifications, educations, trainings needed for those people to be involved with laboratory animals so they can be on board and work efficiently. So in this picture, you can see that the lab animal administration system in China. So most importantly, the thing is on the left-hand top corner of this slide, which is the department in charge, which is Ministry of Science and Technology. They provide oversight to all the animals used, bred in China. So at a different province level, such as in Beijing, Shanghai, and other provinces, we have a Bureau of Science and Technology. Some parts of the country may call this organization as Department of Science and Technology. So it could be BOST or DOST, D-O-S-T. So these provincial level offices actually administer the review and approval and also authorization of the lab animal license approval. So the laboratory animal license in China will have two types of licenses. One is for the facility, or you can call it establishments. So for the animal facilities, you have to have a license before you can run your business. And for the individuals, we have individual license. And the other departments like the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Agriculture, China Food and Drug Administration, China FDA, and the Bureau of Forestry, when the wild animals like non-human primates are involved, they are getting involved. And regarding the lab animal importing and exporting, so the China Inspection and Quarantine Bureau will be involved. And in addition to the regulations from the central government level and also from the local government level, there are many, many China national standards for laboratory animals. So we started this national standards system back in 1994. So the Chinese pronunciation for national standards are GB. So we also call it in China as GBs. So we have about little bit over 100 laboratory animal related standards, or GB in total, plus some 20 local standards covering a lot of non-routine laboratory animal species such as trees, zebrafishes, in addition to lab rodents, rabbits, non-human primates. So also get some kind of interaction, I mean the cross-administrational regulations like GLP, like GMP, like lab animal facility construction standards. So in total about 100. So in order to work in China, you need to be pretty familiar with those kind of national standards or GBs, because when you are applying for the establishment license or facility license or individual license, you need to be studying those kind of national standards because they are in the exams. So another picture, much clearer. So in the Ministry of Science and Technology, we have an expert committee. It's kind of advisory board which was established back in November 2010. So they are providing advices and providing strategic thinking advices to this ministry. And then at the province level, they also have that. But usually, under the Bureau or Committee of Science and Technology at different cities or different provinces, they will have an administration office for laboratory animals, such as in Beijing, it's called Beijing Administration Office for Laboratory Animals. We call it BOLA, B-A-O-L-A. So they also have an expert panel to assist in the administrations. And it used to be regulated by this office to do the kind of review and approval for licensing and certifying laboratory animal facilities, and also for the individual training and qualification and certifications. But now, probably about 5 or 6 years ago, so the administration office, which is a government body, they transferred these kind of responsibilities to a kind of community or association type of organizations. In Beijing, it's called Beijing Association on Lab Animal Care. So they are arranging different training workshops and administrate the examinations for those individuals. But as I said previously, that the licensing and certifying laboratory animal facilities is still the responsibility of the administration office for laboratory animals. So the administration for the licensure system in China, the legal basis for that is actually coming from the 2001 regulations, which is called Animal License Management Regulations. So it says that all Chinese institutions and other foreign institutions, like some of the pharma company, contract research organizations, they have presence, they have facilities in China, so they operate in China. So as they are related to lab animal breeding, using, selling, and transporting animals, have to apply a license before they can start to run their businesses. And in the licensed facilities, the personnel related to care or use of laboratory animals are trained and passed the examinations. That is, they are qualified. So the facilities are also tested and achieved the national standards. So rather, we are using kind of engineering standard versus performance standard. So again, I need to emphasize that in China, Ministry of Science and Technology is the government body responsible for administration of laboratory animal related affairs. So the province's government for local laboratory animal affairs and the instructions of most, or oversight of most. So we need to know that what kind of knowledge or kind of training will be needed in order to be qualified to practice kind of lab animal medicine and or lab animal science, like manipulating laboratory animals, doing procedures, whatever, in China. So we need to know we must have the basic knowledge of management of laboratory animals and related laws and regulations. It is similar as in the U.S. The laws are published by the Congress. In China, we call it People's Congress, and also the regulations. Regulations are usually issued by the government bodies, not by the Congress. So and also we need to know a little bit about the selection, proper selection and use of laboratory animals to meet your scientific goals. And also we have to know about the quality control of laboratory animals from the microbiology, genetics, and also from the welfare standpoints. And we need to know the commonly used laboratory animals and their management, mainly husbandry and care and use, and factors affecting laboratory animals and animal experiments. And basic knowledge and skills of animal experimentation, development and application of animal models. Nowadays, we focus more on the transgenic animals, including transgenic mice, rats, and zebrafish. And we also need to know about how to care those animals, doing good care, providing a good husbandry care for those animals, especially nowadays, the humanized animal models, mainly mice. So management of facilities for animal housing and breeding, and we have to have a sound understanding of the professional ethics of the personnel engaged in the management of laboratory animals. We have a kind of ethical committee, also called ALAT in China. And the class hour of the training course should not be less than 25 hours. And these license, individual license, are renewed every 5 years. You need to know those updates in the regulations and updates of those best practices, and you need to sit in an exam and pass that in order to be recertified. And as for the licensing certifying laboratory facilities, such as in Beijing, I use Beijing as an example, you need to first, you need to download the application form and fill out this form and submit this to the administration office for lab animals in Beijing. And then they will do a kind of preliminary check, so to find out whether this package is complete. Is there any deficiencies in there? And if there's any deficiency notified or found, the form will return back to you for further information. And if the application package looks okay, then they will be submitted, and then a site visit team assigned by the administration office Beijing will be formed with appropriate experts present in the site visit team. So this panel will do a kind of on-site visit to a facility to mainly based on the regulation and also the national standards to evaluate whether your facility and the program are meeting the minimum standards or requirements of the regulation and guidelines. And actually before or shortly after the on-site visit, you will need to do certain testings in the facility, like the environmental control or monitoring data have to be submitted to the administration office for review. And if the site visit was successful, and then the expert committee or panel will propose to the Beijing administration office for approval, that is, a certificate will be granted to the applicant. So usually in the certificate, it will be indicated which type of animals, usually based on the microbiological status like SPF, germ-free, conventional animals, whatever will be mentioned. And then the animal species like laboratory rats, mice, guinea pigs, hamsters, pigs, dogs, whatever, will be clearly noted on the certificate. So you can only house and use of those animals listed on your certificate. Otherwise, there will be a kind of deviation from the certificate regulation. If the site visit was not successful, and then a notification will be sent to the applicant, and then you can make some kind of corrective actions or provide certain supplemental information until you can be reassessed and approved. And this license or certificate is valid for 5 years also, and you need to go through the renew process. And this just gives you a brief idea about what kind of contents or documents are needed in the application package for the certificate for laboratory animal use. I mean, from the for the establishment or for the facility. So we need to have the form. We have 3 copies. We have to have a ethics committee or IACUC org chart. We have to have a lot of different SOPs to cover laboratory animal care and use and facility operations. And we need to do and have the lab animal environment testing reports submitted to the government body, which is the Beijing Administration Office, or in different provinces. And these tests have to be performed by a government-certified third-party laboratory. That is, you cannot do it by yourself. And you have to provide a list of certified laboratory animal personnel and their certificate numbers. And you have to have a floor plan submitted, and you have to have an annual health check certificate for the lab animal personnel, and also the annual professional training schedule, which are also very important. And you need to have in addition to the org chart of the ethics committee review body, you need to also have policies on animal welfare, biosafety, and ethics review processes. And the site visit by expand also, as I mentioned, though they do use a checklist or score sheet, including certain vital items, such as if you don't have a ethics committee review body, which is a vital item, you are not going to get the certificate. If you don't have a vet, that's no to the certificate. You are not going to get it. And the main references are the national standards, or GBs. So some of the examples. So if you don't have certificate for the lab animal personnel, you're not going to get the certificate. You need to have a lab animal quality manager. You have to have a facility manager. You have certain requirements for that. For example, at least above associate bachelor degree in lab animal science or related field. And also you have to have a vet, which is have a associate bachelor degree in veterinary medicine, plus at least 3 years of relevant working experiences. And you have different personnel caring for different categories of animals. And we do have a guidelines on humane treatment of laboratory animals, which was issued in 2006. It was proposed to be the first Chinese animal welfare law or regulations, but then changed the name to guidelines on humane treatment of laboratory animals, because the welfare word is very sensitive in China. So these guidelines emphasize the necessity and the importance of training. So they put training of the personnel in here. And we had a new national standard, which is called the T, that is society standard issued by the CALAS in January 2016. So the lab animal related personnel are categorized into 6 different types or different classes. So we have lab animal technicians, we have manager of lab animal resources, we have lab animal veterinarian, we have lab animal researcher, we have lab animal assistant support practitioner, we have lab animal feast practitioner. So in total 6 types of personnel. So for the lab animal technician, which by the way is pretty much similar to the ALAS categories, just like the American Association for Lab Animal Science, they have certification programs for different level of lab animal technicians. So for lab animal technician, very similar to the US system, we have assistant lab animal technician, we have lab animal technician, we have lab animal technologists. And for the manager of lab animal resources, which is pretty much similar as the certified manager of animal resources in the US. So those are the personnel who manages lab animal and other resources and operates animal facilities. So we have 2 levels, one is manager, one is senior manager. So for the veterinarians, which attract a lot of discussions and debates. So mainly by definition, those lab animal vets are responsible for lab animal disease prevention, diagnosis, treatment, medical care, and animal welfare. So we have 3 different levels, which is very different from the U.S. So in China, we have assistant lab animal vet, we have lab animal vet, we have senior lab animal vet. So in the U.S., you are either a veterinarian or a board certified by the American College of Lab Animal Medicine. So they don't have different levels of lab animal vets. But in China, we have 3 different levels. So for the lab animal researcher, or you can call them lab animal scientists. So they are the personnel researching on lab animal science and technology. We have 3 different categories or levels: junior ones, lab animal researcher, and a senior lab animal researcher. And for the assistant support practitioner, which is probably unique in China, those are the personnel providing maintenance service for animal facilities and equipment, manufacture, transport, marketing, and waste disposal, etc. for relevant lab animal products. So this is pretty unique in China, this type of personnel. And we also have lab animal-faced practitioner, means they might be medical doctors and visiting students or scientists who are involved with laboratory animals or animal experiments during certain phase of their work, usually within 1 year. So they are temporarily working with laboratory animals. So we do have requirements as proposed by the standards, which is, some of the fundamental things are listed here. So we have to have full compliance with relevant laws and regulations. We have appropriate education and training. We meet the health requirements. That's for personnel. You cannot have certain infectious diseases or allergic reactions. Otherwise, you will be excluded from contacting with laboratory animals. So the health requirements are for personnel, not for the animals. Don't get confused. You need to obtain lab animal practitioner certificate. So those are some of the, I'm going to give you some of the brief description about requirements on working experience and qualification exams for different types of personnel. So for the assistant one, I'm not going to go into very much detail about these requirements. So there are some of the categories are much similar compared with the ALAS ones, such as the assistant lab animal technicians. You need to have at least a high school diploma plus 2 years working experience and pass exams. I'm going to give you a list or a table of the different types of exams. Or you have a higher degree, which is associate bachelor degree or above, and you can pass the A1 exam without working experience required. For the lab animal technician, you have 2 or more years experience and pass exam. And if you have bachelor degree, you need less time of working experience, and of course you need to pass the exam. And senior ones and a manager, you need to have a bachelor degree, 5 years experience plus 3 years experience in a manager role, and also pass exam. A senior manager. Because I'm a veterinarian, so I focus more on the lab animal veterinarians. So in order to sit in the training and examination for a assistant lab animal veterinarian certificate or qualification, you need to have a kind of associate or above degree in veterinary medicine, usually for 3 years, no less than 3 years, college education, 1 or more years working with laboratory animals, and pass the C1 examination. I cannot agree with that, but this is already written in the national standards. So we're going to go with this kind of definition and go with the training in the future. And for the lab animal veterinarians, you need to have a 2 or more years experience after you get the assistant lab animal vet certificate. or you pass the National Assistant Veterinary License Qualification and pass the C2 exam. If you have a bachelor or above degree in veterinary medicine, or you have a national vet qualification in China, you only need 1 or more years of experience and a pass exam. You get the LAV certificate. And for the senior ones, you need to have a 3 or more years experience after you're achieving lab animal vet certificate and pass the C3 examination. And a junior lab animal researcher, and the senior lab animal researcher, so you have 2 years after your lab animal researcher certificate and pass the exam. And for the assistant supportive practitioners, you need to, there is no clear requirement for that, but you need to receive training on basics of lab animal science and techniques and obtain basic vocational and professional qualification depending on your job. And lab animal field practitioners, and it's no clear definition because they are basically medical scientists or visiting scientists or students. So they need to receive training on basics of lab animal science and technicians and obtain relevant qualification in their relevant field. And I need to mention that for these kind of field practitioners, you usually need to work under supervision or under oversight of a qualified personnel, like a lab animal vet or a lab animal technician. And this is just a table, a list of the certifying examinations. So different categories, you have different levels, and you have different exams to take, to prepare for, and pass in order to get relevant certifications. And we do have a competency requirements for those different type of lab animal personnel. You need to have basic knowledge of lab animal science, animal welfare and husbandry procedures. You need to understand certain important concepts, theories of those related fields, like animal health, disease prevention, facility operation, research type of things. Of course, the different level, the high level may have a higher requirement for these type of knowledge and experience. And for the manager, in order to do scientific things, you need to have certain understanding and experience in managing people and managing budgets and managing those kind of different resources. And for the lab animal veterinarian, you need to understand the basic science of lab animals, and you need to understand lab animal welfare ethics and regulations. You need to be familiar with diagnosis, monitoring, that's health monitoring, prevention and treatment of lab animal diseases. Those are the common diseases. And you need to be familiar with lab animal handling and other manipulations like injection, bleeding, etc., and also be familiar with euthanasia and other procedures. And for the lab animal vet, you have a higher level of expectation from the qualification or certifying body to have a better knowledge of those listed for the assistant lab animal vet. And for the senior one, you have to be a master of the basics of lab animal science and welfare, disease, and also you need to supervise relevant lab animal procedures. You have to be providing consultation and training to lab animal research personnel. And researchers, pretty much similar about the basic lab animal science, know about animal experimentation, and you are capable, for the lab animal researcher, you should be capable in participating in lab animal related research projects.
And for senior one, you need to be able to independently conduct lab animal-related research and can supervise and train a junior lab animal research personnel. And for the 5th practitioners, you need to have basic knowledge and you'll be trained for certain things which are helpful for your research. In addition to that, you need to know about basic animal ethics and welfare, and also know about the occupational health and safety issues when you are getting in touch with laboratory animals. So we have qualification training and certification program, which are organized by the Chinese Association for Lab Animal Sciences. So the trainees and the potential trainees are laboratory animal practitioners who apply for relevant certifications. So the organization of CALAS is actually the organizing body for issuing those certification exams. And then later on, if you pass the exam, they are going to issue you with relevant certificates. So certifications, as I mentioned, CALAS is responsible for that. And CALAS will set up the relevant requirements and also provide continuing education. So mainly managed through the CALAS, which is a central level association in China for lab animal science. And we also have kind of branch association for lab animal science in different provinces. So CALAS is responsible from the administration level for lab animal practitioner qualification, training, and certification exams. And also, CALAS is responsible for evaluation and qualification of training programs and setting up the training courses. So as for the lab animal veterinarians, so the official national veterinary licensing examination started in China in 2009. Before that, we had a long history of examinations or licensing for pet veterinarians. So they are working in the pet clinic for dogs and cats. But for the farm animals, for lab animals, for wild animals, for the animals in the zoo settings, we do not have an official veterinary license system to cover that. But it changed after 2009. And within the CALAS, we established a lab animal medicine working group in December 2016 to develop a kind of role document and set up the training course and set up the certifying exam question database, and with a final goal to establish a Chinese College of Lab Animal Medicine, and finally join the international organization which is called International Association for College of Lab Animal Medicine, which now has 4 members, which is American College, European College, Japanese College, and the Korean College of Laboratory Animal Medicine. So this is a little bit different from the Western practices. For instance, the Lab Animal Medicine College, which is part of the American Veterinary Medical Association, AVMA. In China, we do have a Chinese Veterinary Medical Association, but they are not very active on developing lab animal vets. So in reality, we set up such an organization in the CALAS system to promote the training of lab animal vets in China. This is a little bit different. So just following that slide, so our thinking for the Chinese College of Lab Animal Medicine is that you have to have a senior lab animal vet certificate, plus you have a China National Veterinary License, and then you are eligible to be elected into the Chinese College of Lab Animal Medicine. So because now within the globalization of research, including lab animal science, the globalization process. So there are many foreigners or international experts who are working in China right now, or who will be or willing to work in China in the near future. So you might have a concern regarding how the lab animal practitioners with a certain foreign qualification certification, if they are be able to work directly in China with such foreign qualifications, or need certain assessments, whatever. So I can tell you that there is currently no clear policy or requirement yet regarding how to handle the lab animal practitioners or lab animal professionals with a foreign qualification certification to work in China. So that is unfortunately no mutual recognition of qualification certifications between China and the Western world, not yet. So, but our thinking is that at least those international experts should be trained on relevant Chinese regulations and guidelines in order to be permitted to work in China with contact with animals. So just give you a brief idea about the Chinese Association for Lab Animal Science. We do have a training plan each year. So for the 2017, for this year, the training plan looks like the following. So we do have an iCook training, which will be in March 2017. We have workshop for senior manager of lab animal resources. We have CALAS annual meeting, just like we have in the U.S. ALAS meeting. We have animal welfare and ethics workshop. We have national standards training. We have qualification exams for different types of lab practitioners. We do have a training for lab animal vets, which has been scheduled for November 2017. We also have other training opportunities, like we have a Chinese version of Charles River short course on lab animal science, which have about 3 or 4 different sites in China, different time, so you can choose to attend which is more convenient for you. We have facility management training, which was and will be sponsored by the Techniplus company, with oversight from the Beijing administration for lab animals in China. And we do have barrier facility operations. As a matter of fact, in China, no matter what they're doing, you just do a kind of toxicology or certain other things with laboratory rodents, you need to have a barrier facility. So that's the rule. So no matter what you are doing, you need to have a barrier facility for rodents. So it's popular to have barrier facility operation trainings. So each year we have one is co-organized by the Beijing administration for lab animals together with the Capital Medical University in Beijing. So we do have seminars, workshops on humanized or genetically modified animal models with a focus on mice. And we have zebrafish workshops, probably a couple of workshops per year in different places. We do have non-human primate workshops, because within the launching of the China Brain projects, we have a more focus on the non-human primates. So we have workshops regarding the non-human primates as a model for human diseases. We do have non-human primate workshops based on, mainly focused on behavior and also the training, so that non-human primates could be more cooperative with humans with the procedures. And we also have access to online lab animal medicine training courses. For example, at the University of Copenhagen, we have a European designated vet training course. I think we have at least 1 or 2 vets registered for that course and is starting right now, starting for that course. And we do have access to introductive lab animal medicine program at the University of Guelph in Canada. I think we have about 3 or 4 lab animal vets in China attended that program and achieved a certificate for that. Yeah, that's all about my presentation. Thanks very much for your attention. I will be more than happy if you have any questions for me, and I'll try my best to answer. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Peng. Before we get started on the question and answer session, I would just like to remind our audience how to submit questions. You can submit questions by typing them in the Q&A box, which can be found by clicking on the green Q&A button at the lower left of the presentation window. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can, and if we don't get to your question, Dr. Peng will answer them post-presentation. Now, our first question is, Dr. Peng, in China, lab animal-related activities are regulated by which ministry at the central governmental level?
Yeah, thanks very much for this question. Actually, as I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, in China, at the central government level, the Ministry of Science and Technology, you can call it MOST, M-O-S-T, is the government body at the central government level responsible for the administration or regulation of lab animals related activities in China. So, in short, the Ministry of Science and Technology is the government body for lab animal science in China.
Next question. An audience member saying, I am a LAT as certified by AALAS. Do I need a license in order to be able to work as a lab animal tech in China?
This is a pretty good question. As I briefly mentioned during my presentation, with the globalization of science research and also with laboratory animal science, in China we do have certain international experts working in China. Like we mentioned, if you have a lab animal technician certificate issued by the American Association for Lab Animal Science, which is somewhat recognized in China by your employer, but not by the government body, which is we do not have a mutual agreement on the recognition of certifications issued by different countries, like between US and China. That side, I think you are more than welcome to work in China, but you may need to go through a kind of brief training regarding the relevant regulations with respect to lab animals in China. So you can talk to or through your employer to talk to the local administration office for lab animals. They probably can help arrange someone can speak your language, such as English, so that it can give you a brief introduction about the relevant regulations, which are the basics you need to know about. And then in addition to that, I believe that the organization you are going to work with have internal training plan. You need to go through those things. Since you are certified by the ALAS, we are pretty confident you have a good command of the basic techniques you need to work with animals in the field. So basically, we will focus on the regulation thing and let your employers to decide which part of the technical things you need to learn and to be certified by them. So in short, you cannot automatically work in China with a international certification, but rather you may be advised to take certain brief training on the regulation things about lab animals in China.
Dr. Peng, I have a question that's along the similar lines here. I have another audience member who is a licensed vet in the States and is also ACLAM boarded. They would like to know if they need a Chinese vet license to practice lab animal medicine in China.
Yeah, this is a very good question because I'm a vet also, so I can answer your question probably in more depth. So basically, as I mentioned that, the U.S. veterinary license is not officially recognized in China, not yet at least. So in order to be a lab animal vet, you need to have a Chinese national veterinary license. But don't be afraid, because usually by definition, if you work only in the lab animal facilities, that is, you are going to work with laboratory animals in a research setting, so usually you will not be required to have a formal veterinary license in order to be doing that. But as you mentioned that you have a board certification from the American College of Lab Animal Medicine, which is highly regarded across the world. So we would consider you as an expert in the lab animal medicine. But if you want to be an attending veterinarian in a facility, because by definition, AV is a legal term, which is you are responsible for all the veterinary care issues or things in your establishment or in your facility. So you have legal responsibilities. So your vet have a veterinary license in China to practice or to fill in that role. So for your situation, my recommendation, my suggestion would be that you could be a kind of supervisor role, like a director of lab animal medicine department or director of veterinary care, but you could hire a vet with a Chinese veterinary license to be the attending vet. Or you can be, I think it's not fair for you to go through the veterinary license exam in China. So you can be in a kind of manager type of role, but not play a AV role. But if those facilities are kind of international organizations like from a CRO, global CRO, whatever in China, or have ALAT accreditation, so as long as you are recognized by your employer as a competent vet, you can play as a attending vet also. So in short, officially, you cannot be the attending vet in China, but in reality, in practice, you can, given that you have a agreement with your management, top management in China, and ideally you could have a vet with a Chinese veterinary license to assist you.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Peng. And I have one more question for you. We're almost out of time, and I believe you almost answered this question, but just to clarify, we'll just ask you this last question. In order to be qualified for an attending vet job in China, what certificate do I need to have? Senior lab animal vet, or even assistant lab animal vet?
So this is a very good but a little bit tricky question. As I mentioned that by definition, if you want to be an attending vet or a vet for lab animals, you first need to be a vet or certified vet or licensed vet. But with the situation in China, and as stated in the Chinese national standards, as I mentioned during my presentation, we have 3 different levels of lab animal vets: assistant lab animal vet, and a senior lab animal vet. So basically, by definition, if you achieve at least the assistant lab animal vet, you could be appointed as a vet for lab animals in China. You could also be an attending vet for that facility as well. But in my opinion, So we're going to implement a plan which is you need to have a veteran license which is regulated by the Ministry of Agriculture in China. So it would be a kind of very embarrassing situation that you are not a licensed vet in China and you play a veterinary role for lab animals. So ideally, you would have a veterinary license issued by the Ministry of Agriculture, either assistant licensed vet or licensed vet, preferably. And then you don't really need a lab animal vet certification from the CALAS. You can be the vet, which is also recognized by the international accreditation body, which is ALAT International. So in short, you don't really have to have a assistant lab animal vet or even a senior lab animal vet in order to be able to take on a attending vet job. But my recommendation is that you achieve a lab animal license from the Ministry of Agriculture in China. Plus that, you have certain training and knowledge about the lab animal species you are going to take care of. That is to achieve one of the 3 levels of lab animal vet qualifications issued by the CALAS. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Peng. As I mentioned, we've run out of time, and that will have to be our last question. But as a reminder, Dr. Peng will be answering any questions submitted that were not answered via email. I would like to thank again Dr. William Peng for his presentation. Dr. Peng, do you have any final comments for our audience?
Yeah, again, thanks very much for your invite, and thanks very much for your attention. So my goal of this presentation is give you a brief idea about the regulatory system in China so that you can be confident working in China, because it's not very different from the other parts of the world. And then just let you know that we do have a education training and the CPD program or strategic program in place, but we are in a kind of infant stage. We are still learning and try to come up with a plan which is mostly suitable for China's situation. And as I mentioned, that if you have a certification acquired from the other parts of the world, you are welcome to work in China, and we will help you go through these assessments and to be able to work in China, for China and for global, and to promote good lab animal welfare and good animal research in China and also in other parts of the global. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you again, Dr. Peng. I would also like to thank our sponsor, LabRoots, for making today's educational webcast possible. Today's webcast will be available for on-demand viewing through May 9th, 2017. You will receive an email from LabRoots alerting you when this webcast will be available for replay. We invite you to forward that announcement to your colleagues who may have missed today's live event. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you next time. Goodbye.